Of course, there is a Game 7 during a World Series like this. It's been epic. Scotty Braun, Erik Kratz, Buck Showalter with us for a little Bucktober talk. Buck, let's first recap what we saw here in Game 6. Your thoughts to the ending of this one as a longtime former skipper?
Well, my first thought is, can Glasnow pitch tomorrow? What do you throw? 3 pitches? 4?
Yeah. I think he's good.
He's in there.
That's my first thought. I think everybody's on deck. I understand the base run. You're trying to score on a single, even though there's one out, and you just get a bad read. But my first thought is how the 3 or 4 plays that Rojas made tonight. You know how hard that pick is that he made to end the game? And he caught, Erik and I were talking about before we went on the air, the 2 rockets he had hit at him that looked like routine plays that are so hard with people on base. And he may not have gotten 3 or 4 hits and made a big contribution, but boy, what a contribution he made defensively. What'd you guys see?
Same. You're sitting there going, is this going to work out offensively? Well, what did it show you? Nope, it didn't. But to me, I think it has the potential to work out offensively, and you're not getting downgraded at all. I can't say Miguel Rojas is better than Tommy Edman at second, because Tommy Edman does have a Gold Glove at second base, but the potential to make a good swing, put the ball in play. I love this move. I loved it. I loved everything about it. Everything Dave Roberts hit was perfect.
Erik, what's funny about it is, unless you've been in a locker room and you understand the status that a guy like him carries, and you need a little bit of a calming influence in a game like this, win or go home, and to have his presence on the field, that's something you can't look at analytically. It's a feel thing that what he's going to mean from a calming influence to some of those players. The other thing I saw too, they made a big deal about Mookie Betts dropping from 3rd to 4th. Wait a minute, the guy's hitting cleanup in the World Series. It's not. I like their batting order better because it presents more problems for the bullpen because of the left-right that they lined up with, as opposed to the back-to-back guys that one pitcher can face in a key situation. By splitting those guys up, it actually made it tougher for Toronto's bullpen.
Wait, Buck, I'm looking up on my analytics stat sheet here. No. There's no place for a guy like Miguel Rojas. His numbers don't say he should be in there. So I don't know what you're talking about, Buck. Sorry. It doesn't work out, does it?
The biggest challenge in the game nowadays is evaluating the impact of defense properly. All you got to do is look at some of the Gold Glove finalists and you go, him? Really? So, however they're equating it, I've always said, if you want a job for life in baseball, learn how to properly equate the good defenders. I think the Fielding Bible had it right for a while. They were the closest to being correct as I've seen in a while. That's another subject for another. The other thing that hit me is how good a player Will Smith is. We didn't play them a whole lot, but every time we played them, I went, this guy can really play. First round pick out of Louisville, he gets a lot of key at bats for them. When you've got a catcher that can hit 4th, you're so much ahead of the other team's offense.
Buck, first off, I was laughing. I was laughing about what you said. Yeah, you look at some Gold Glove finalist situations, and lucky for us, we do 2 hours every day, so we get to have fun with that. But I am so with you. I want to get right to how a wedgie ball might have decided the fate of this game.
That's what I told you before we came on. As soon as it was hit, I said the Dodgers might win the whole World Series because the ball got stuck in the wedge. We got a multi-billion-dollar industry. Why can't we get fields where stuff goes all the way to the bottom and that can't happen? We probably got a tie ball game if that ball doesn't get wedged in there eventually in that inning.
That's the line right there. We need to make sure the world hears that line, because the Dodgers go on the road to Toronto, Kratz, where somehow we can't just fill the very bottom, and there is a chance that balls can get stuck there. It's the bottom layer, guys. I don't know if you're aware of this. They did an estimate. It's $1 billion. No, I'm kidding. I mean, it probably costs like 10 grand to fill the bottom. I don't know why they do that. You always hear, oh, Kratz, the nooks and crannies of the ballpark. For that, though?
No, that's not a nooks and crannies thing. That's just we didn't finish it thing. And hey, the new renovations, they look nice. Buck, didn't you see how many suites they put in the stadium? There's so many more suites. It's so much better fan experience. Wouldn't it have been a great fan experience if that ball hits hard and Barger's on third in a 3-2 game with nobody out?
You know what's funny is that a lot of these places, they play other sports and other events there. So that stuff comes down and they have to put it back up at some point, to get back into baseball mode. I'm not sure. I know it used to be that way when the Argonauts played there. I don't know if there's another team playing there now, or if they have a concert or something in that venue, they have to take that stuff down a lot of times and put it back up. So, we used to be such sticklers about spring training, making it safe. And I love the fact that it's padded, but that's one that I just go, wow, we shouldn't have that as part of the elements. It's like, Erik, you go into certain ballparks, why aren't all the hitting backgrounds uniform? Why do you go to Fenway Park with a left-handed pitcher in a day game and you can't see? I mean, why aren't all our hitting backgrounds uniform? Okay, I'm done.
Wait. There's a fresh tweet from a center fielder who I know you know and love. It came out actual seconds ago. Adam Jones tweeted, Buck Showalter had us read the entire rule book when he got the job in Baltimore. Reason was, quote, I need you to know your field of work and always be prepared. Nothing should surprise you. Are you an expert of your work or just do? I mean, we're talking about this play and our buddy Adam literally tweets that, and he's probably who knows where around the world. So James Dean's got to get a lot of credit here, right? Wouldn't you be going up to him first if you're Doc Roberts? Like, there you go.
I used to catch a lot of grief, but we would go over one or two rules every spring in the morning. Like two guys standing on third base, who's out, who's not out. Hey, define what an infield fly rule. What is it really? Okay, what does running in the lane constitute? If you're on the line, or you're in the lane, or you're not in the lane. But the more we went into them, the more I realized that a lot of people, including some coaches, didn't really know the rules. And hey, I learned something every spring too, because one, they changed a lot. But it's amazing to me that, this isn't really a rule, but it's just one thing you should have your home ballpark, and really all the ballparks should be uniform. There should be certain quality control. Your batting cages should all be the same. Your mounds, if you think the mounds, they come around and measure them, but I've always been paranoid about them tweaking them. Say you're throwing half a foot shorter in the visiting bullpen. We always measured them. First time we go into a visiting ballpark, we would measure the bullpens to make sure they were the same distance.
Well, Buck, what do you say to your outfielders for executing that perfectly? Because, hey, I'm sure without naming names, some players that you've managed or some that you watch in today's game who would have not done the right thing in a crazy pressure situation in Toronto where it's loud as hell and you don't know that ballpark as well as your home park.
Well, if you go in there and dig that ball out, Erik, from the get-go, not giving them a chance to do that, putting the hands up and then going and getting it. But I think in replay, I think they would have come back and gotten it right in today's game. They would have said, okay, that's a wedge ball. But, sometimes I think you should just play it. If you can grab it, you should play it. It's part of the game. But I think that's got a chance to go down as the wedgie ball that hurt them in the World Series. I hope not.
Buck, tell me if I'm wrong, but the way I understand the rule, he goes in there without putting his hands up. There's no replay. That is a played live ball. Am I correct?
No, I think they would have called it come back because they've got the outfield umpire that saw it. They were calling it fairly quickly, but I think that the trailer, I think it might have been the other outfielder and the outfielder both had their hands up, and then they went and got it because they're paranoid that they won't call it. But I think in today's world, replay would have come back and got that right and placed the runners. You don't have to not score the runner at third. Let's say he was running on that pitch and was rounding second when it, got over the infield. He's going to score easily. They can give him home plate
because it didn't go out of play. It's umpire's discretion on that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, quick call out, and then I want to get to pitching decisions from Game 6. Eventually, of course, we're going to spin it to Game 7 for the end of our conversation, but please subscribe to Foul Territory if you're watching right now. That would be great. Or if you're watching this on demand a little bit later on, baseball the way it should be covered. Nice little post-game show for you after a crazy Game 7 finish, or Game 6 finish. In Game 7 we're going to talk about in a moment. But let's get to pitching decisions. First off, in Game 6, Buck, do you like the way that Doc Roberts navigated his pitching situation? He does not have the easiest bullpen setup. It's no secret. And Yamamoto is a CG guy. We were getting used to seeing him in the night. When I didn't see him come out after 6, I was like, wait, what? 7th inning? He's already out? Were you okay with that? And then the rest of the way, they won the game. I get that. But would you have let him eat another inning and get to 115 pitches?
I'm so careful about, I'm not going to tell a pilot how to land a plane. There's so many things going on behind the scenes that we may not know about, what he may have told them or his interpreter, whatever. So you don't know everything that was going on there. And, they've seen him a lot. And I don't know what was said between innings. I think, Erik, was it you and I were talking earlier in the day that I think his an outing not too long ago in Japan, he threw 138 pitches. I mean, normally this guy's just getting loose at 95.
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously they didn't run him like that during the season, but I mean, Dave Roberts even said early in the postseason, he's like, this is what, like, we're okay. We build him up to be at this spot right now. I think he was talking about Blake Snell when he was talking about that. And Yamamoto's come up big. I could not have been more surprised when he came out with 96 pitches. I mean, they had to have either seen something or they went and, they were like, okay, we pushed you last time. We don't want to push you again.
Yeah, something could have been said between innings. I've had the interpreter walk over to me and say, Singa, I had, different guys. I've had Koji Uehara, and just said, hey, he's done. And you have to wear that as a manager. But it worked out well. You made a good point, Erik, that they are without two of their better left-handed two relievers in this series. And I think that kind of goes unnoticed. I tell you what, Bassett threw tonight, that paints tomorrow with Max in a little different light. But if I know Chris, one of my favorite pitchers I've had. You talking about a baseball player who happens to be a pitcher instead of a pitcher who happens to be a baseball player.
Did you see that? Sorry, Scott. Did you see? Man, who was it? A lefty was up for the Dodgers. Anyway, and Bassett looked over at Ernie. He's like, Ernie Clement was in for the bunt, and he was like, Ernie, get back. First pitch was a rocket to the left, foul ball to left field. Like, that's the kind of stuff to me that shows he knows what he needs to do.
He's a baseball player, and Chris is such a good fielding pitcher. He's basically saying, I got that. If they want to bunt this pitch, the two-seamer he's got that runs across the plate, it's so hard to bunt anyway. And Chris is basically saying, if they want to bunt in this situation, I got it. You play back there and defend the bat. And that's why I said he's a baseball player who happens to be a pitcher.
13 pitches for Bassett tomorrow. Again, we're going to get to Game 7. We're just going to do a few more minutes on Game 6, and then we will load up on what we think is going to go down in Game 7. What did you think of the Dodgers finally putting up a crooked number, Buck? I mean, their offense had been a big storyline, and they put up 3 in the third, and that was all they need. And Mookie Betts was kind of the face of the struggles and very vocal about it. Rips a 2-strike, 2-run single through the left side, makes it 3-0, 3 consecutive fastballs up, gets on top of one. He had been in a 3 for 24 slump in the World Series, and he comes through with the biggest hit of the game.
Yeah, I like how they said, and they dropped him to the cleanup spot. Like they really dropped him way down, But Mookie is one of my favorite. Best right fielder I've ever seen. The way he played Fenway Park right field, that is such a hard right field to play. But he's such an athletic guy. And the ability to go from right field to second base to shortstop and play at such a good level. We talk about all the stuff that Ohtani can do. To be able to play right field at that level and play shortstop for a championship team, that's just amazing. I remember the first time I saw Mookie Betts, we were in I don't know, the fall league. And I remember this kid sat down and ate with me, and I called Brian Butterfield of the Red Sox. I said, "You know some guy named Mookie Betts?" He goes, "Yeah, I've heard he's a pretty good player." I said, "You might want to get to know him because sitting down and having lunch with him, he's pretty special." And that was just getting to know him as a person. But anybody that doubts the heart of a guy like Mookie, he's never going to give in. And I think people miss how good the pitching is this time of year you're facing. So good hitters are going to have periods where they don't look real accomplished, so to speak.
Kratz, did you feel like he clicked it back in? We talked a lot about his swing today on Afternoon FT.
On that swing, yeah. I mean, how did he get to that spot? Because they blew 2 fastballs by him. I get it, he's in a slump. I get it, they've been getting him out. I think they went to the well one too many times, and Mookie made the adjustment on that pitch. I think it will show what happens. I mean, later in the game, they threw him a hanging slider that kind of backed up, and I know he took it, and I know he kind of like flinched at it, but he was late on it. He was late, and as he did it, it was like, man, like I still got to see Mookie get the ball out in front consistently. I want to see foul balls out in front, just like he pulled that heater up and in.
The great hitters can turn the clock up. They know after taking a pitch or fouling off a pitch, hey, I've got to turn that dial up a little bit on that. Now, and like Erik said, it makes you more susceptible to an all-speed pitch. But they pretty much showed him how they're trying to get him out and have been getting him out. But they know they have to turn the clock up a little bit. They just have an innate feel for it.
Good. Hey, Buck, last thing on Game 6, then we'll talk strategy for Game 7. We're actually showing some Kevin Gossman in here. You managed him. I covered him a good amount when he was with Baltimore in his early days. Top pick, first rounder out of LSU, the whole deal. Whew. He is such a different human being in every level, in every way. You know this way better than I do, but that should tell it all. If I can tell from covering him from the outside, what can you tell us about what you've seen from him? I know they lost the game, but he kept them in it.
I'm so proud of Kevin. It's funny. We were watching the game after trick-or-treating with our grandsons, and my wife said to me, she says, "Boy, Kevin's come a long way. He is so different now." And not different necessarily stuff-wise, but he's got just such a better face and such a better presentation of confidence on the mound. And, it's fire, but it's controlled fire. You can tell he's competitive and he knows he can do this, but he knows there's a fine line there. I'm so proud of the way he's developed as a pitcher and as a competitor. Not that he wasn't competitive. I remember telling him, "Kevin, you know how good you are and how good you can be? Don't let, these are the best players in the world. Don't let anything out there that happens take away your confidence level that you can do this. You can really do this." And he's really evolved into a frontline guy. Having guys like Bassett and Scherzer around him, he's really graduated to a solid major league guy you can count on.
Yeah, I mean, he's part of the splitter revolution that is really in full force right now in the postseason. It's been fun to watch, and I'm with you. I mean, just from covering him, you see the confidence factor through the roof these days. Every time he walks on the mound, chucking the gum, it's a fun watch, and he feels like not just I belong here, but I'm going to dominate. And in the beginning of the game, that was as good as it gets. I think we had never seen 8 strikeouts through 3 innings from a starting pitcher to start a World Series game. So credit to the Dodgers. They got to him. They got just enough, and they outpitched Toronto, but it was definitely cool. So now here we go. All right, let's set the stage. You got one word before? Yeah.
I want to go back to Adam Jones' tweet or whatever y'all call it. Is that what it is? A tweet? I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. But Adam has such a curiosity. Here's a guy that was a major league established veteran, but he had a curiosity about the rules, about other ways to do things. And the great players have a curiosity. He wasn't afraid he was that guy that would raise his hand and ask a question regardless of but he was asking the question that everybody else wanted to ask, but were afraid to ask. Adam was never afraid. And that's why he was such a great player, is he always had a curiosity for ways to get better. And that's why I had so much respect for him. So tonight's tweet doesn't surprise me because Adam is a student of the game.
He's fired up looking at that. I love it. And hey, he wears it on his Twitter feed in a good way. I mean, he'll let you know how he's feeling, good or bad, every day. So that's good stuff. Adam's our buddy. He's been on here many times. Okay, so Game 7, winner take all. Best 2 words in sports, Game 7, live on the FT YouTube channel afterward. We will have a post-game show. Kratz will be on. Trevor May will be on. It's going to be nuts. So now, let's spin it forward. Okay, Buck, tell me everything we need to know heading into Game 7, starting with strategy. Like you said, you think Glasnow's going out? Yeah, I think they kept his pitches to a minimum that he can be a big factor. I think we should start with Shohei Ohtani, though. I mean, this is the most unique player we've seen in our generation. And how are you going to use him in Game 7? They said he wasn't available for Game 6, but he's available for Game 7.
Well, we think he is. You never, dealing with the players from different cultures and different backgrounds, and Dave and them know these guys. You've been with them too long, so you know what their buttons are. And there's not a whole lot of surprises this time of year. But I suspect he'll be ready. It'll be interesting to see if they're going to sit down tonight after the smoke clears and they're going to talk about what they can and because talking to players right now after the game with that much juice flying around is probably not a good idea. It's more about presenting scenarios and then approaching the players, because you do need to let them know how you're going to use them. But immediately after the game is not a good time to talk about, because they're all going to have this bravado going on, and then they wake up tomorrow. And I tell you, the first thing that hits me, Erik, is playoff shares. Going 7 games, a little bit better playoff shares for everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, we actually talked about that. The first 4 games go to the players. The last 3 go to the teams. The teams are like, so maybe whoever wins gets a nicer ring. But my question to you, Buck, Shohei, do you just go like this? Do you just give him the ball? And he says, I got you, Skip. And you let him run?
What if you go start to hand it to him? He goes, I don't think so. Maybe later in the game. You got to be careful about pushing him into something he doesn't want to do. I'd be surprised if that's not the case. I'd be surprised. It may be Glasnow with him picking him up. Who knows? Glasnow basically had a work day today, because I know he didn't have a work day at any point today. So that outing, the problem is they don't have a day off. But a lot of guys, 2 days before they pitch, have a work day. So I think their choices are Glasnow or Ohtani, but both of them are going to pitch in that game tomorrow.
The rule that Major League Baseball has out there, there's no way, in my opinion, there's no way they don't start Shohei. Because if they go Glasnow, clearly they're fine with Glasnow coming in out of the pen, his long 3-pitch outing that he had tonight. But to me, like, you start Shohei and then you go everybody else. You might say, I get 3 from Shohei, I get 3 outs from Shohei, whatever it is. But I don't see them trying to manipulate, moving him the right field after he comes in to relieve. But this is the drama that we want Shohei pitching in Game 7. We're going to get it. I'm no doubt we're going to get it.
I've got one other question to ask you. Would you be a little concerned if you were Dave Roberts about your so-called closer tonight? I know that you pushed the envelope on him with the second inning. Do you feel any differently about him struggling somewhat tonight? About him pitching at the end of the game tomorrow?
My issue, and I know the team doesn't strike out much, my issue with it is he had a full inning pitch, so it was an inning plus, so inning plus 2 hitters. So he faced 5, 6, 7 hitters and 0 strikeouts.
What do you throw, about 30 pitches, somewhere around there?
I'm not as concerned about the pitches. I'm concerned about the fact that splitter thing was not fooling them. Because it's not a splitter. It's a forkball. Let's just be honest. It doesn't spin enough. It's almost a knuckleball. It spins so little. But you have to go to him. Dave Roberts doesn't have anything else. Dave Roberts can't get through tomorrow's game with Shohei, Glasnow, Kershaw for 1 out. Like, where is he going to get his outs is my question. Because that's on the manager. I'm just the player. You're the manager, Buck.
Yeah, and I don't know their players, but I agree with you. I think you're going to see. Let's see what we can get out of Ohtani. Let's see how far we can take it. Unless there's something in the conversation in there that sets it up differently. They know their players and they know, what's being said. I try to give them that respect, but it looks like that on paper. I agree with you. I think Toronto's the one that, you got Bieber there, you got Bassett will come back, and you got Scherzer. Don't ever underestimate. I had a number of people tell me before one of the games, and I said, do not sell Scherzer short. I'd like to know what his sleep, those things you wear on your hand that tells you how much sleep you got the night before. I wonder what Scherzer's is going to look like tonight.
It's going to
Not
look
much.
like this.
The thing's going to break. What are you talking about? That thing broke. If you try and put anything on him, it will break. He probably will chuck it against a wall. He's so excited.
Without giving up too much information, I know Max too well. He's got a complete ritual the night before he pitches that he does getting his sleep. I tell you, you want to catch the wrath, somehow get to his room and disrupt his routine of sleeping the night before a game. He's got it down to a science.
Oh, I'm sure. And he's been doing it for a while. Okay. So in a perfect world, if the Dodgers win, Dave Roberts is like, cool, I get 3 or 4 out of Shohei. I get 4 or 5 out of Glasnow. That's it. Maybe I needed Roki for 1 at the buzzer. And on the Toronto side, what's the perfect world? Is it Max then handing the ball to Bieber, then handing the ball to Bassett and maybe Hoffman if you need?
Yep, I agree with you. That's about the way I see it. How do you see it, Erik?
I actually might flip it. I don't know that Max, obviously, these are Buck conversations that are happening throughout the playoffs and the season. I might go Bieber. I might go Bieber fever, start it out, and then Max.
Well, that means Bieber's going to start on short rest and Max is coming off normal rest, right?
Yep. Because I'm thinking I'm getting more out of Max, and I'm okay getting more out of my second guy in than my first guy, because my first guy runs into anything. Now I have a short guy behind him, and I have more length in Max. And Max has an opportunity to get in the flow of the game.
I think you got to ask yourself who would handle relieving better, because it's a whole different cat for guys like Max and Bieber and Bassett, who have always been starters for the most part. Bassett's had some experience with it now, but Max pitching's pitching to Max. Whether you tell me what inning I'm pitching, let's go. But there's a tough conversation. If you want to go tell Max that somebody else is starting, good luck. Good luck.
And John Schneider doesn't want that smoke. He's already talked about it. That's why I said what I said. I said Ohtani to Glasnow. I said Scherzer to Bieber, and then we talk about Bassett. And of course, my favorite, I was going to save this for the end, but every day Louis Varland will figure out a way to get in the game and set the record for usage in a postseason. I think he just tied it at 14, and 15 would set the record. What about lineup changes, though, Buck? What do you think of the way that the Dodgers have tried to mix and match? So does Mookie stay in the 4 slot? Does Miguel Rojas get another start? And then after that, let me know what you saw from George Springer, who I'm assuming is good to go. I mean, he had some big knocks for them.
Well, he had one he hit well. The other one I thought was a beautiful thing that tells you all you need to know about Springer. Just put the ball in play, get the barrel to it, and wow, look what happened. I hit it down the first baseline. I love that at bat. That was one of my favorite bats of the whole night. But, I don't think you're going to see much change with the Dodgers. I just want to say again, that starting Rojas tonight, I know that wasn't in the analytical sheet that you get. And I think the real interesting thing tomorrow is to see whether he starts again tomorrow. I think he will. What do you think, Erik?
Yes. I don't think they change a thing. But you can't have this team bouncing in the clubhouse. They're going to get to the field tomorrow at like 11 o'clock. If they show up and the lineup says, great job last night, guys, we're going to go back to what we had because Tommy Edman's ankle feels better at second base. Sorry, Tommy. We're going to need to get you your ankle the same thing that Freddie Freeman had last year for the playoffs. Like, we need you back out there. And Miggy Rowe, I appreciate you. We're going to hoist another trophy.
I tell you, an interesting thing to watch for tomorrow is Springer, because I would be surprised if he's not real sore tomorrow. When you've had some time off, and he's been taking some dry swings and some BP and a little bit of hitting there, but it's nothing like the level game speed. I'd be surprised if he's not sore tomorrow. Do I expect him to play? Yes. But do I expect him to be uncomfortable? Yeah, I do.
A couple of notes from Dave Roberts here at the finish line. He said rolling with the same lineup, not announcing the starter yet because he wants to see where Shohei is more comfortable. My only question on that one is, how can he pitch in the middle of the game here, Kratz?
They just don't want to give it up. They just don't want to give it. They don't want any. I'm not letting the other team know the night before they go to bed, because I'm taking my computer and I'm watching. I know this guy, but I'm watching every video. I'm watching every tendency, because I'm not going to be able to fall asleep. So if you're the Blue Jays, to me, I'm selling all out to the fact that Shohei's starting. I don't see how they circumvent the rule. The only question I would have, and this would be a 99.9% sure of what I just said, the only question I have is, I questioned that ball by Will Smith when Shohei was on first. Shohei's speed is elite. I'm wondering if his legs are not completely back, because he did not score on that ball down the left field line. And I thought that was a sure 100% 2-0 game at that point. Because
that's a good point. That's a good catch.
And they never showed him because Shohei walks on water for the telecast. But to me, that ball rattled around in left field, not for me to score from first. Shohei's walking in there, and he did not. And I'm wondering if his legs aren't recuperating, because think about what he did. He took a cross-country flight. He pitched. He was on base in the 18-inning game 9 times, and then they took another cross-country flight. The only reason you don't recover is because inflammation is stuck somewhere where you don't want it. And I'm not saying it's his arm. I'm saying when you don't run at your top speed like Shohei can, I wonder. I really wonder.
Yeah, that's why. That's another reason why they're not completely committing. Let me tell you guys another MVP this time of the year that's behind the scenes. I want you to think through. The Dodgers came to the ballpark tonight, not thinking about it, but realizing their season could be over. Okay, let's talk the traveling secretary. First of all, the hotel. You've got to figure out a way that, hey, you basically say, we're staying here tonight, win, lose, or draw. That was last night. So they're going back to the hotel, and if they had lost, they would leave the next day. Now you got to make sure that hotel is kept for tonight. And if I was them, I would spend the night there probably tomorrow night, because by the time you get done with that game, win, lose, or draw, and you got families with you, the ability to be able to think on your feet and maneuver quickly you've got probably 100 people traveling with them right now, maybe on 2 different planes. And the ability to keep that and maneuver around is when traveling secretaries really earn their money. And that's what I'm thinking about this time of night is you're sitting there and Dave Roberts not only is making decisions about pitchers, but they're all making decisions about the movement of the team. But they'll worry about that.
It takes a village. The players have no idea what they have to worry about. And Buck, this is not Garrett Cole putting Rafael Devers on first. This is how many planes the Dodgers have for the World Series. They have 4, Buck.
Come
4.
on.
For real.
And we're worried about $10,000 for a padded fence?
That doesn't let balls get wedged underneath it? No, this is how the Dodgers roll, and they're not traveling secretaries anymore, Buck. They're directors of travel. But I got to ask you, Buck, since you asked me all the questions, I have to ask you this question. Elimination game. Quick hook compared to lane where you have a pitcher pitching compared to what your eyes are seeing.
All the above. The quick hook is fine, but you're hooking him for who? I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of managers who would have stayed with the closer there. But Dave Roberts said, okay, I've got to, sometimes you got to change a little, in the giddy up. You just got to throw something different out there. And when they got the pop up there to get the first out, we were on, you and I were, we were all talking here, getting ready for the post game, and went, oh, that's when the first thought about the pad out there came up. But one pitch, you can change the karma of a game. So the quick hook is fine. Oh well, we're not going to wait around very long. It's pretty easy to tell if a guy's got it sometimes. If there's a fight at the bat rack to get in at bat in, he's not. You don't really have to have some lane there. I think the lane stuff, you present your options and saying, okay, we can quick hook this guy, but do we have the people to cover the innings? But you've got so many guys pitching tomorrow that have had great outings, and you got to try to figure out, is this that night where they're not having that outing? And that's where a feel comes into it, and that's where the human heartbeat comes into play, and that's why both these managers are managing in Game 7.
Yeah, this is going to be nuts. I'm so pumped. Toronto, you deserve this. Blue Jays fans had not seen World Series baseball since 1993. Now you get it all. You get a Game 7 in Toronto for a chance to win a title. The entertainment factor is through the roof. And on the Dodgers side, fans are trying to see back-to-back champs for the first time in about a quarter century. The biggest weakness for the Dodgers, I mean, you could make the case between the offense lately. Okay, well, you can win a 3-1 game again. And the relievers, doesn't matter that much. You got good starters. Game 7, it gets nuts. It's called chaos for a reason. So this was good stuff, guys.
I got
Final
one more
thoughts?
question. Yeah,
Yep.
you get a 10:30 ring of your doorbell for a trick or treaters. Do you answer it or not in Dallas, Texas?
Oh yeah. Do you have full size candy bars, Buck?
Oh, we're down to the apple slices now.
Then you don't answer it, because that man, that young man or woman is going to. They're going to put toilet paper in your at 10:30. The kids who are going to eat the apple slices, no, they're not out anymore. We need full size candy bars, or the lights have to be out, Buck.
Yeah, I think we got something else working, little munchies this time of night.
Exactly. I think there are other factors in play when trick-or-treaters are going past the deadline. And I think the deadline is, I mean, you guys tell me, I'm not a suburbia guy, but probably, 8, 9 o'clock?
I got a question for y'all. Give me one unsung hero tomorrow. Somebody that steps out and is a Game 7 hero that just blindsides you. Who's your pick to?
That depends
Yeah.
who you think is going to win, right? Because that's the unsung hero is not going to be the guy on the losing team.
That's true. So maybe
But I'm
that's
okay
hard.
with that. But then you need to have an answer
One
too.
from each
Then we
team.
can swing it around. Or okay,
One from each team, Buck. And I'll give you my one from each team.
Okay.
Kratz, you first.
Oh, me first?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Miguel Rojas. They've already set the stage for me. The Dodgers have a guy in there who can bunt, who can stay inside 100-mile-an-hour fastball from Louis Varland and move the runner. He's not going to win MVP. He's not it's not going to happen. And to me, the guy that could win an MVP, Alejandro Kirk. And I'm not saying he's coming out of nowhere, but if you look at what he's done recently, he looks a little bit tired here at the end of this series, and he hasn't gotten the big hits. To me, if the Blue Jays win, Alejandro Kirk puts the ball out of the ballpark.
So you got my guy with Rojas. You can bunt with him. You can squeeze with him. You can hit and run. He's going to play stellar defense. So I'm going along with you with Rojas. But Toronto's a tough call. I'm anxious to see how Kirk's wrist is after the hit by pitch.
Nothing hurts in Game 7. Nothing hurts, Buck. Not even that old hip of yours. Nothing hurts.
If it's broke, it is. But I love Kirk. I just love watching him play. I talked to the guy that signed him. They had gone in there to look at somebody else, and they kept seeing this guy and his bat to ball skills and everything. And when I first saw the guy in the big leagues, I remember talking in the advance meeting. I said, guys, I don't know about him catching whatever, but I guarantee you this guy can hit. I guarantee you anybody that looks like he looks can hit. and he could. It's just when you see him, I love watching him play, and he can throw, and the pitchers believe in him. But you took my two guys, so we're in agreement there.
Okay, well, I'll give you two on the way out. I mean, Clement has been a pleasure to watch. I know he didn't get it done. He was part of the pop out, right? We had one of the pop outs there at the end,
Yep.
but come on. I mean, the dude's hitting 400 plus in the postseason. He's been incredible. This has been a coming out party for him. He's been good. He hasn't been talked about a lot the last couple of years, and he has taken his game to another level. He's one of those guys where you're looking towards the bottom of the lineup. I mean, Buck, you look at that at the 8 hole, and you're like, damn, this makes sense while we're playing this team right now. This makes sense. This guy is a pest. This guy hits towards the top of most lineups, and we're playing the Blue Jays, and we have to game plan against Clement and what he's done. To me, that stands out, and that's a guy that just consistently has been a pest. On the other side, I'll give you here. I'll get you a comment in there, and then I'll give you a guy on the other side.
That's a good call.
Yeah. Okay. And then on the other side, I'll take one who's either going to go like 0 for 4 or 2 for 4 with a huge dinger, Kike Hernandez. He's just been there, and he's a different player in the playoffs for years. So if the Dodgers end up winning 3-2 and there was a 2-run homer, I would not be surprised if it was Kike Hernandez. I would say Max Muncy in that kind of case too. But Max is a little bit more, of a bigger name regular season wise. Kike Hernandez is the definition of postseason performer. He's the guy who gets up in those big moments. It's just a different game for him when you get to October, and he's got so much experience at those times. So I'll say those two stand out.
You remember the play where Muncy lost the ball on the lights tonight? The bouncer, supposedly. That's another thing. Official scorers for years always scored that in error. At least they know now. But there's another thing. We talk about fences and openings at the bottom. Isn't there some way we could figure out a way where balls don't go in the lights? Somehow figure out a way that it doesn't play into the game? Okay, I'm done.
I kind of like it. I mean, from a fan perspective, like you got to fight the lights.
I can get the sun. The sun it's always going to be there. But the lights, that's something we can control where the ball doesn't get in the lights. I used to think that we should always, okay, I'm going to give one up on myself. I was thinking in the playoffs one year, if we gave out shirts to everybody behind home plate, and they turned them over to black shirts when we were in the field, and they turned them over to white shirts when they were in the field. You think that would be legal?
I think
so.
Major League Baseball would not do anything about it, because they used to give out white towels. People would come in there and they'd be waving the white towels, and the hitters are like, the fielders are like, I remember Shane Victorino, he's like, oh my God.
I can't see.
He's like, what? He's like, put all of them down. He's like, every 2 strikes, he's like, you have to strike them out. Because I'm seeing like 1,000, 15,000 white things behind home plate. Now they made the rule in the last CBA. They made sure it had to be your team colors. It couldn't be white or any light colors.
Hey, there's a reason why they quit giving bats away, because somebody's going to get killed up there. Remember when they used to have Bat Day? Finally, they figured out, this ain't a real smart idea.
No, it's not a good idea. Hey, wait till you see the renderings for the new Vegas ballpark where it's full of white. That's going to be fun when someone calls them and says, hey, that's not going to work. We'll save it for another day. We'll save it for another day.
It's like the silver seats in the stands. Who makes these decisions to have these silver seats in spring training where nobody can see? There are places where we wouldn't take guys to the ballpark, to visiting ballparks, because we knew somebody get killed. What's this mean?
Challenge. We just have to challenge.
We challenge it. Like
lot of challenge.
Whoever
things.
made that decision is not watching enough baseball.
Hey, how good are the home plate umpires? But how many pitches tonight would you have asked them, Scott, to check tonight?
I would say probably about 5. What Kratz said. There were a few pitches down that I felt were down, and then there were a few pitches that were not down. So I think the bottom portion of the zone had a little bit of a roller coaster ride to it, but most of the time it's playing both ways. And I'm the biggest proponent of the ABS challenge system. I cannot wait. One quick note too, just so people don't think we got it wrong. On that Muncy play, initially it was called a knock, and then they switched it.
Oh, they switched it to an error? Really?
Yeah. They did. They switched it to an error later.
The official score should go up to him and say, okay, tell me, yes or no. Is it in the lights, or did you just miss it? That's what I would do because
What do you think
I
he's
want to
going to
get it
say,
right.
Buck? These are gamers. What do you think Max is going to say?
Max is going to tell you the truth. He will. He will,
Yeah.
because it doesn't
He
really
will,
matter.
but many won't. I
Yeah,
guess,
well-
but I'm with you. It's fun. Hey, this was great. Thank you for joining us, Buck. Hope you enjoyed it. That was a fun game to break down. Game 7. We'll do this again on FT on the YouTube channel. Trevor May will join us for it. So we will see everyone after Game 7 of the World Series. Winner take all. This is it, the end of the season for sure. And it will end in Canada with the Dodgers taking on the Blue Jays. And you can check it out on Fox 1. They Live for Live. Try 7 days for free. QR code on the screen right now. Good night to anyone watching us live. If you're watching us in the morning, happy Game 7 day.